the last stage of the 2017 Tour de France, finishing obviously in Paris. Congratulations. Nobody got the prediction right. This Dylan Groenewegen, this kid, 24-year-old sprinter from Lotto Jumbo. JB, he was always, he was always there. He's always top 10, always.
And you don't notice.
No, you don't. Well,
unless they get called out.
Right.
A lot of people like that can just sort of blend. And then all of a sudden they get the big stage win in Paris, and you're like, whoa, who is this guy?
By the way, for a sprinter, not that I was ever a sprinter or ever will be a sprinter, that's the day to win. I mean, at the start, you say, okay, you get to win one day.
That's the biggest day.
Well, yeah.
It's the most hyped and the biggest crowd, and it's got to be pretty cool.
Yeah. It's a famous city.
Is it?
Yeah. I remember one time, this is a funny story, and I was going to put this in a book at some point, but fuck it, I'll say it right here. One time I was in Paris a few years ago, and I landed, I got in an Uber, and I'm driving to my hotel, which was right in the center of the city. And so if you've been to Paris, which a lot of you have, we're on the Périphérique, we exit, we go down, and we're driving towards the Arc de Triomphe. And I had this Uber driver, African guy, I don't know, I think he told me where he's from, I forget. But we get to the Arc de Triomphe, we go around, and then, of course, then you hit the Champs-Élysées. And he goes, alors, this is the Champs-Élysées. And I go, no shit. I mean, true story. He had no idea. I could have been, Lance Armstrong or Neil Armstrong. He didn't care, didn't know. He's like, but this is the song. I was like, that's good to know. One thing, I screwed this up. I have to apologize. I didn't know, or I should have. Hell, I got the book right here. I should have paid attention. I didn't realize that they no longer make that hard U-turn right before the Arc de Triomphe. They now go all the way around, which, by the way, the images on TV, duh.
It looks really good.
Oh, dude, so dope.
Why did they take so long to do that? Because it kind of changes the dynamic of that last day, too, because it's less of a hairpin where you brake and accelerate.
It makes
more of a rolling
turn. Makes it easier
turn.
on the guys, but, it shows you how much I've paid attention. I mean, they might have been doing it for 4 years.
You don't know.
I didn't know. Sorry. I know there were people at home going, this guy has no idea what he's talking about. No, I saw that Taylor Phinney said he's actually never been to Paris. And that he was, at least he said, I wanted to save my first trip to Paris so that, my first ride, if I ever did the tour, my riding into Paris would be my first time ever. That's a pretty big deal.
That is a big deal. And so everybody's celebrating. What about, how do they start thinking about Vuelta? There's a lot of them that are like, you don't get much of a chance to celebrate, I'm assuming, before you're like, all right, what's our plan of attack?
God. Chris Froome says he's doing the Tour of Spain, the Vuelta.
Why? Okay, theories.
I don't know if they backing up the Brinks truck and just like dumping the cash on the front door. By the way, for those who don't know, ASO, the owner of the Tour de France, also owns the Tour of Spain. So, I don't know, but I wouldn't do the Tour of Spain if I was him. No way.
What's other than money, what's the upside?
By the way, too, I saw, I don't know if it was at the start, I think it was at the start, his wife and his baby. Holy shit, that kid is cute. Stay home with that kid.
Right?
Do some 1 week raises. Do something. That's a cute baby. No, seriously. And I know cute babies. I mean,
it's like you're skipping right past the hot wife and go spend time with that cute baby.
Well, we have to be careful here. You said it.
She's attractive. All those guys got hot wives.
Yeah.
But yeah, why do the Vuelta? I'm no theories on that. Does that happen after a tour win? Are there lots of offers for to do some crits and
there's big? I mean, they'll go. Those guys, especially the Jersey winners, will make good money.
Yeah, just to show up.
Just to show up and ride around, and it's a cool scene. I mean, I've done a lot of those, and they're packed, and they're late at night, and people are drinking and partying and having fun. It's a really cool scene. But here's I mean, I don't know if Chris Froome has ambitions to do the World Championships. Maybe if that were a goal of yours, then the Vuelta might work. I don't know. I just the thought of mentally going out on the road for another 3 weeks. I could never do that.
What's it like for a lot of these guys who need to take the tour and parlay it into a new contract? There's a lot of, the people who rose to the occasion. Is this big negotiation time for them right now?
Oh, I said it at some point during this tour. I mean, the tour is like the biggest conference room. I mean, it's just constant. All those agents, managers, and obviously teams are there. So there's a lot of that going on. Speaking of that, because I think at some point we'd get to the question of what happens next and what happens next year. Chris Froome's losing some guys, which is interesting. It's interesting as obviously they have the cash and the resources to hire other guys, but he's losing some strong guys. And then it gets to the question, which I alluded to the other day, is what do these guys? How do they ride when they leave Team Sky? Because to me, I don't know. It never materializes. At least not enough.
Mm-hmm. So they but they have a lot of bargaining power for recruiting, do they not?
Yeah.
So they're going to be
Who,
trying
Sky?
to pick. Yeah, they're going to be picking.
Well,
for some guys,
they have probably they have blank checks.
Yeah.
Who doesn't like a blank check?
So they could reassemble, even if they're losing guys, they could reassemble everything they need for Froome
they're
going to
restock. Yeah.
All right, what's it like in Froome's head right now? You're sitting there, you're going, okay, number 4. Sort of the fact that he's going to do the Vuelta doesn't mean, okay, now I'm done. That would not be the way to go out. But what's going through the guy's head as you have such a great tour?
Well, what's in his head probably? Well, we don't know what is in his head, but and they alluded to it on the telecast yesterday, or the broadcast. He's thinking about winning a 5th tour, and then it gets into this. It's hard for me to even discuss this, but there's this club of 5, right? It's and Indurain and Merckx, and could be Froome and et cetera, Anquetil. So he's thinking about that. Again, it's a little weird for me to even balance that. But anyways, I mean that's what they'll all say if he gets the 5th. Right now he's not thinking about it now, but here in another month he's going to be wondering what ASO delivers for the 2018 tour. All these things we talked about. I mean, the climbs, the length of the TTs. Is there a team time trial? Is all these things, and so that's a big day for any GC contender.
But this happened last night. Is this
going to be the whole song?
Not just a piece of it.
Okay, good. Thank you.
This is Lance getting pulled up to sing along with Lyle.
Take my hand, and you'll see. Here I am. Yes, it's true. All I want, girl, is you.
There you go. That was great.
Well, most importantly, thank you to Lyle Lovett he was in Aspen last night playing for his real job. He had the large band playing at the Belly Up, which if you're ever coming through Aspen, is one of the best places in the world to see live music. Mm-hmm. Not big. There's not a bad seat in the house. So he was playing there. But before he went over there, he was so gracious, as he always is, to come by the event and play. I think he played about 30, 35 minutes, and then it never fails. If I'm there, he always makes me come up and sing that song.
Oh, that's not your first time to do that?
No, I've done that 100 times. I've done that in front of thousands of people.
That was very entertaining.
Yeah, it's not that easy. It's makes you nervous.
All right. Well, a lot of people have still sent in comments. You want to tackle a few?
I want to read something, and this is the thing that I've not been able to get through before. But and perhaps I should have read this at the start of the tour. I just think it's so amazing, and I found this. It was on the back of a book that somebody gave me at one point. But this is, I think it applies because the end of this speech talks about the riders getting into Paris. And so this was in 1906 when Henry de Grange speaking to the riders at the start of the tour. So, I don't know how many riders were there, probably not that many. And as we talked about earlier in this tour, it was a much different race and it truly was a freak show. But he says, through torrid afternoons, entire populations will present themselves before you, their hands raised in applause, their eyes wide open to catch a lasting memory of the battle. In the evening, as nature slumbers peacefully, tired after the long day, the peasant, burnt by the sun, will fall silent to celebrate your passing. Then, after the pain, honor will follow. Alive again, you will enter Paris in sporting glory. And later, you will remember your exploits at the Tour de France, and you will be able to say with pride, I was there. So that's what these guys get to say tonight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they did it. They're a big part of history.
Yeah.
It's in the record books.
Well, I even feel that. That's crazy.
Yeah,
Pretty cool.
just the emotion of going through it and putting your body through
Yeah,
that.
for these, I mean, physically it's hard, and mentally it's hard, and then just to be done, people always ask me, how does it feel? It's like, I'm just glad it's over. I want to get
Yeah.
out of here.
Yeah.
Like, I want to go and just stay in one place and be with my family or be with my friends and, not be in a random hotel and not eat spaghetti for breakfast every day. And
It's grueling. I
Yeah.
can't fathom. Most of us can't fathom it. Most of us, the big accomplishment is to do a 100-mile ride, and
I wouldn't know
that
anything about
takes-
it anymore.
That takes so much out of us.
Yeah.
Can't imagine what
Yeah.
that's like.
Hey, one other thing, JB, and we talked about this earlier, is that, for cycling fans, this is sort of the end. I mean, this is the end of the Tour, and we talked about the Vuelta. We talked about the World Championships, but there are a lot of other fans are going, what's next?
Mm-hmm.
Especially American fans. There's a great event coming up that is actually, 5 or 6, maybe, no, 7 or 8 years ago when I had this idea to kind of recreate the Coors Classic. The overall festival is called Velorama.
Mm-hmm.
And then the bike racing part is the Colorado Classic, which is a 4-stage race. And I'm not exactly sure if it's a stage race or if there's just 4 different days. One day in Colorado Springs, one day in Breckenridge, and then 2 days in Denver, where the stage is, where Wilco will play, Death Cab for Cutie, the old 97s, the Jayhawks. And we looked at the website today, JB, and they got some good teams there. I was surprised.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, too, for American fans that were fucking pissed off when the Tour of California didn't select George Hincapie's team and didn't select Axel Merckx's team, well, guess what? They're coming to the Colorado Classic. Because you could already tell I was pissed off. But it's a good field. And so shout out to those guys. If you are in the area or want to come over to this beautiful state, check it out at veloramacolorado.com. VELORAMA Colorado.com. And
It'd be a good one. It's good for people to follow because, I mean.
the twist is interesting.
Yeah.
Going in, having it all blocked off and barriered off and buying tickets for music, and you can see the racing. So, it's a little out of the box or a lot out of the box, but shit, we haven't had a race that survived in this country ever. So let's try to twist it up a little bit.
Yeah, hopefully people will pay some attention to it.
Yeah.
The recurring theme with this Stages podcast that I kept seeing in the comments is people had stopped watching the sport, and that this got them reinvigorated.
That's nice.
You know what I mean? So, that's been very much a common theme. And then, maybe we can see the new rising stars and people to watch, up and coming Americans, which people keep asking about.
Yeah, you thought you were going to drive back to Austin. Maybe you should just drive to Colorado Springs and just park it there, and then the next day you can drive over to Breckenridge, and we'll just kind of.
I'm never going to get home.
Well, hey, buddy,
There are worse places to be.
Yeah. Maybe we should drop in. Y'all let us know if that's a good idea.
If it's of interest,
we don't want to invite ourselves.
I don't know.
But it's cool. And by the way, I mean, I love Wilco, so selfishly, I think that's pretty dope.
It is pretty cool. Just for fun, will you field some more questions and comments?
Just
for fun.
Yeah, real quick.
That's
You know what? I've gotten fat enough the last 3 weeks. I got to start training again.
I am reflecting back on my first day here when we were doing the preview, and I was like, man, I'm going to ride and kickstart my getting back in shape. And you were like, in Aspen? And you just had this belly laugh.
No, you've done good, man. I just got a text from my buddy Matt McGinty. He says the Fitchburg Classic is still alive and well.
Where's that?
This is signed from a proud masshole. It's up in Massachusetts. The
Okay.
Fitchburg Classic. Thank you, McGinty. Look at a little fact check coming in.
Matthew wrote to us and said, I was thinking about your previous podcast where you commented about OJ's Bronco going up for sale. And it said, how about tracking down Lance's original white IROC Z? What would that go for? And throw in some Iron Maiden cassettes.
Oh, up the irons.
A lot of guys do that when they get into their 40s and 50s. They try to track down their old
Oh, really?
car.
Is that a thing?
That's a thing. It's kind of a midlife crisis thing,
Huh.
but
Well, I'm not doing that. I got enough shit to do.
well, we'll try to find the IROC.
I'm still pissed at George for bringing up the IROC.
And the Z Cavarici pants. That's awesome. Henry writes, Guardian described your studio as being in a Winnebago. But it's an Airstream, right? They need to do their research.
I did read that article where they said it was a Winnebago parked somewhere in Colorado, and I was like, wait a minute, because if Airstream has like a freakish following,
Yeah.
and I mean if some dude rolled up who was one of these freaks that's like a Airstream head,
Which
and
I
some
am
guy-
a bit of.
yeah, and some guy says, man, that's a really cool Winnebago. That would be like
No, not cool.
okay.
There is an Airstream snobbery. A lot of people ask this, and I know you've talked about it before, but they just keep asking. Ron wrote in and wants to know if you're going to Iowa. Everyone wants to know if you're going to show up.
I'm going to be there. So Jimmy Johnson and I are leaving early Thursday morning. So we'll ride Thursday and Friday. I have to do a thing in Chicago on Saturday, so I can unfortunately only do. And he, by the way, too, he's got to go drive around in circles somewhere. So we're going to ride Thursday, Friday, but it's me. This is a cool story. So me, Jimmy, a bunch of guys from Aspen here, Matt Kenseth. Who am I forgetting? Oh God, I don't know. I'm forgetting some other. But anyways, I mean, it's going to be a fun group of guys, and we're looking forward to it.
Tyler writes, I've really enjoyed this podcast. Any chance there will be a We Do sponsored beer mile?
No,
You tried the beer mile, did you not?
I
you
did.
try
It was a massive failure. I just remember. So Ryan Dungey is also coming to Ragbri.
Okay.
So this is one of the greatest supercrossers of all time, who's shocked the world and retired at a young age, and because he just didn't feel it. He just like He risks his life every weekend, and he's like, I'm not feeling it. So, hats off to him. And you can make that call. That's a tough, smart call.
And then, of course, many, many, many people are asking, so I'll just kind of clump them together and see what your answer is, because it definitely affects my life. They're like, what's next for Stages podcast?
I don't know. I just assumed it was a 49-week vacation. I don't think there's. You just have to see. I mean, look, JB, I've loved doing this, and I think you've enjoyed it too. And I appreciate you driving up here and helping me do this, because I could not have done this. This show doesn't. I don't think this show works as well as it did if it's George and I alone, and I know it doesn't work as well if it's me alone. And it needed. This is your job, so it needed you to get me talking, to get George to get the thing flowing. But what's next? It's hard to know if people are interested. Obviously, we're not going to do a podcast about the Tour of Spain.
Right.
But if people, are they interested about the Colorado Classic or the Tour of Utah or the Classics, for example? I mean, maybe. So it's something we can sit
We'll
around.
see.
Yeah, we shall see.
Now, I
verra, they say
I
in France.
really have appreciated this opportunity, and it was good for me, timing in my life to come do this, and it's been a blast, and it exceeded what either of us thought by tenfold, don't
Right.
you think?
Yep. More than 5 million downloads, at least as of a couple days ago. And I can't. It sounds like I'm BSing y'all if I say that it's humbling. I mean, but it really is. I didn't know if people would listen, or people would care, or people would send in comments, or ride around the block and with an Italian flag. I didn't know that was going to happen, but it's been a fun ride.
Yeah, I can't believe how many people I've run into who have been listening, and they're just passive cycling fans who lost interest, and now they're back.
My buddy Jerry Goldstein is we probably talked about him at some point this month, but he's an old legendary defense lawyer. was given a speech at the Harvard Law School, and he said the dean of the law school came up to him and said, "Jerry, have you been listening to Lance's tour podcast?" I mean, the fucking dean of the Harvard Law School.
Right.
I was like, that is so cool. Love that.
Yeah, that is wild. The people that have been checking out, and I have to mention this because you've been working with Dave Bulge for a long time, and I've known him for a long time, but I've never worked this closely with him. In fact, he's back here controlling the camera switcher. It's like, what does that dude not do?
He can do anything.
He's amazing.
He can do anything. One time, Dave Bulge can do so many things. Dave Bulge was a soigneur on the national team and with Saturn and with Postal, and he ran my ranch in Dripping Springs. He can build a bike. He can give the best massage. But one time, Olivia dropped her iPad and it cracked. The screen cracked. And she says, I said, "Oh, you know, something like it's busted." And she says, well, don't worry. Dave can fix it. And he's like, no.
Well, this wouldn't have been pulled together without everything that Dave's done, including bear-proofing my back window. I'm like, dude, everyone's scaring me about my broken window. And he's like, okay, well, we'll fix that.
Yeah.
That was one of many, many things that have happened over the last 3 weeks.
And we gave a shout out earlier, but thank you to Pam Alexander, who's sitting here.
Our
You guys can't see-
landlord.
Our landlord let JB crash here, gave us Wi-Fi, which, well, hang on, Pam, what's going on? And, you know, just, we're going to get out of your hair pretty soon, Pam. Or JB's going to get out of your hair. I'm never out of your hair because I'm just across the way.
But I might come back anytime unannounced.
Next summer. Can we get a commitment from Pam that we can park here next summer on the record? Huh? Oh,
Hey.
hello.
There, that answers
All
next
right,
year.
see?
That's done.
I told you we should let her sit in.
Yeah. But, you know, also thanks to the guys back in Austin, Mark Higgins, Nick Shuley
yep,
doing
yep,
everything.
yep.
And all the guys at Mellow Johnny's have been stuffing We Do gear
Yep.
and getting all that out.
Yep. And I guess that store is restocked again, somebody told me.
Okay.
Or is that not true?
I know it was restocked at least once, but
Okay.
sign up for the email notification.
Yeah,
when new stuff's out.
WeDoSport.com. Who wants to do that? This is a question millions of people ask. And a lot of people say, we do.
Mm-hmm.
It's a way of life.
Who wants to go to Colorado and do a podcast every day for 3 weeks?
You do. All right. Thanks for tuning in, folks. It's been a fun ride. And if we don't see you, we will definitely see you in 49 weeks. And we might see you before it. And while we're at it, too, I know we've read some ads on this podcast, but I want to be sincere and say thank you to SeatGeek, thank you to Life Size, and thank you to anybody that did go to the store, because that's the thing. You know, you ain't coming up here because this is fun and leaving your family in Austin. There's expense involved here and your time involved. And so a real sincere thank you to them for supporting us.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. See y'all later. I'm going riding.